whatever I am sharing here is just my clinical experience. Okay, whatever the like experiments I have done in, while reducing the dosage of Thyronorm, while treating hypothyroidism cases through Ayurveda, and what are the drugs I usually use in almost more than 400 cases which I have treated till today. So introduction. Hypothyroidism is a clinical syndrome resulting from a deficiency of thyroid hormones. It's not a just disease, it's a clinical syndrome. When you consider in Ayurvedic terminologies or Ayurvedic explanations, you can consider hypothyroidism as a Vyadhi Sankara instead of just a Vyadhi. So why? You'll be knowing it in further slides. So there is a generalized slowdown of metabolic process, and in newborn infants it is called as cretinism. In adolescents, short stature, mental retardation, precocious puberty, all these things we'll be able to see in hypothyroidism cases. So in general, it is the first gland which evolves in fetus. In the 11th day itself, the thyroid gland evolves. Okay, so in anomaly scans and all, we'll be able to make out whether it is there or not, and depending upon that, whatever the necessary actions to be taken is done. Like if there is any absence of thyroid gland, and in such cases, in anomaly scans itself, they will rule it out and they will proceed with the whatever the necessary actions is needed. So physiology, the hypothalamus secretes thyroid regulating hormone, which stimulates the anterior pituitary gland to produce TSH. Pituitary gland, which stimulates the thyroid gland to produce T3 and T4. T3 is around 7%. Thyroid gland produces around 7% of T3 and 93% of T4. Okay. So it is like it works in the inhibitory feedback. Like the concentration of T3, T4 in the bloodstream is received in the hypothalamus. In turn, it produces TRH according to the need. Okay. So that again stimulates, like the amount of TRH released corresponds to the amount of TSH released. So again T3, T4 depends on the amount of TSH released. So this is like schematic representation of how the T3, T4 is synthesized in a cell. Okay. So I don't go in depth into this particular slide. So because you have already studied about this physiological thing. It is just a video how the, like whatever I explained about the TRH and TSH thing. So the neurosecretory neurons receive the T3, T4 and as a inhibitory action, inhibitory feedback mechanism, it stimulates pituitary gland, that TRH is produced, then the TRH stimulates the anterior pituitary gland. So the amount of T3, T4 in the bloodstream decides the amount of TRH. The amount of TRH decides the amount of TSH. Again, that amount of TSH decides T3, T4. So it's inhibitory mechanism. So body fights as much as possible to produce the required amount of T3 and T4. When it fails, that leads to overt hypothyroidism. So T3, T4 releasing into the bloodstream. So there are follicular cells in the thyroid which traps the iodine, which is used to make T3, T4. Okay, inside the follicular cells, this iodine is trapped. Then with the help of a protein, It is in general is iodine. The globulin will be there, thyroglobulin. That thyroglobulin along with the mineral iodine, it synthesizes T3 and T4. So in the causes, if you see, the primary thyroid diseases accounts for 95% of cases. If we consider the incidence rate or prevalence rate in India, it is almost 1 in 10. So if we consider 140 crores of Indian population, how much? So around 14 crores hypothyroidism cases are there in India. In this primary hypothyroidism or primary thyroid diseases, these are the main diseases. Many drugs are causative factor for the hypothyroidism. All those things are. All these primary thyroid diseases, it occurs at the thyroid level. Okay. So the another 5% cases which are called as suprathyroid diseases, they happen superior to the thyroid. So it may happen at the pituitary level or it may happen at the hypothalamus level. Okay. So in general, 95% of cases are at the level of thyroid. Okay. It may be sick hypothalamus or it may be because of the sick pituitary gland. Okay. So we never know. Even disease is happening. That's why we should not treat the reports. We should not rely much into reports. Of course, reports are necessary to treat all the cases. Like all the investigations are necessary. But we should not forget the thing that is pratyaksham alpam, aprathyaksham analpam. So we should remember this, because if we see some cases, the thyroid levels are not, TSH levels are not so much increased, but they will be exhibiting so much of symptoms. In some cases, thyroid TSH levels will be like more than 50. Of course, there will be laboratory errors. Okay, if you send them to 2 to 3 laboratories at the same time, and if you get all the reports like within the same range, then also if they are not facing too much of if they are not exhibiting too much of symptoms, then we have to consider the patient's symptoms along with the reports. Okay, so thinking that reports are like TSH are so much high, if we rush with the treatment, again that also harms the patient. So we have to consider both the reports as well as the symptoms. We should not neglect the investigations or we should not neglect the symptoms. Okay, so 5% cases, it is suprathyroidal causes, and some drugs which causes the hypothyroidism are like lithium, interferon, interleukin, thalidomide, and even the radiation. Okay, like in some cases, if the person is exposed to radiations in radiotherapy or any kind of such treatments, that also leads to the hypothyroidism. I have seen a 7-year girl who was suffering with lipoma. She was subjected to radiation. Then she was already, before getting into the radiation itself, they already knew it. So they started this one, thyroxine hormone, like 12.5 mcg thyroxine hormone was given to her because prior to the radiation therapy. And as expected, she was having 10 TSH of 10 micro IU per ml. Okay, like after just 2 sessions of radiotherapy. So that is the one case which I have seen post-radiation hypothyroidism. So when it comes to the Ayurveda aspects, so which are the things we have to consider and we have to look for? It's like it is generally happens because of the Vata, Kapha, Ruddhi, Pitta, Kshaya, but in general Agni-Mandya, and especially Melodhatu Agni-Mandya. So we don't get much information about the things related to hypothyroidism in our classical text. Of course, it is there in the Charaka Chikitsasana 12th chapter and again in the Sushruta Samhita 18th chapter. Okay, but there again, like Gandamala, Gadaganda, there will be a lot of confusions when it comes to treatment of hypothyroidism in Ayurveda. Like whether I should treat it like a Galaganda or Gandamala, how we have to consider. See, that's why in the beginning itself I have told, it is not just a valley. Don't consider it as Gandamala or Galaganda or anything. You consider it as a syndrome where too many symptoms will be there or where too many diseases also exist. Okay, so coming back to this slide, like Amakaraka Ahara Vihara is also one of the main cause. So how those Amakaraka Ahara Vihara, I'll explain in the further slides. Like Rasadushti happens, so Rasadushti, Rasavasvatadushti. In that again Atichintana is explained. Atichintana, that means stress. So stress may be a new word or stress may be a new thing for us, but they knew it. Acharyas knew it. Like what are the things happens because of the Rasavasvata, like the things which contributes to the Rasavasvata Dushti. So Atichintana is explained clearly in Charaka Vimanasthana 6th chapter about this one. And again Kapha Avarna Janya Dhatvagni Mandya. Because of Kapha Avarna, Dhatvagni happens. So before going into the symptoms, there are another 4 things which causes hypothyroidism. One is underactive thyroid. Okay, the reason may be many for that. We have already seen that. And the second thing is autoimmune thyroiditis, the major thing, and the thing which do not have many solutions. Okay, autoimmune thyroiditis. Okay, so and the next one is toxins, the environmental toxins and pollutions. Okay, is it explained in Ayurveda about environmental toxins? Visha. Yes, exactly. Garavisha. So how Garavisha? There are many ways where we are consuming Garavisha. Okay, so Acharyas knew it because they had divided. We don't know how to interpret because we are not getting deeper into the Samhitas. Okay, fourth one is iodine deficiency. Why I'm saying fourth one? In the 1970s, it may be the first cause. Okay, when if you go to before 1970, it may be the first cause. But in 2022, it is the fourth one. Why? Because we are not having anything without fortified iodine. Okay, any processed food. You take any processed food, you name any processed food, it comes with fortified iodine. To know it, we have to check all the packets. That's it. I don't know how many of you have checked your kitchens, like the salt, whatever the salt you are using at home, like how much iodine it carries in per gram. Anyone checked it? Okay, I'll explain it, that as well. So symptoms, coming back to symptoms: tiredness, increased sleep, hair fall, abnormal menstruation, decreased metabolic rate, dryness of skin, decreased memory, myalgia, hoarseness of voice, abnormal increase of weight, bradycardia. So anyone can name any disease where you can see in Ayurveda where you can see all these symptoms, like at least more than 60% of the symptoms. Pandu, Kafaja Pandu. Okay, if you see Kafaja Pandu, you can see most of these symptoms. Okay, and whenever you send your patients for thyroid profile, make sure you are doing complete hemogram as well. Okay, there you can interpret Kafaja Pandu along with this hypothyroidism. Okay, most of the cases, if you say like how much percentage, if you ask how much percentage of cases, in my clinical experience, more than 90% of cases had less than 10 grams of HP. Okay, in hypothyroidism cases, in most cases like 7, 8 and all. So how the dhatu gets affected with the hypothyroidism, those things also we will see in the coming slides. Okay, so these symptoms are also seen in Kafaja Pandu. So diagnostics tool, what are the diagnostics tool? So T3, T4, TSH, that thyroid profile, and FT3, FT4 is also done in many cases. And anti-TPO, anybody anti-TPO? Is anti-TPO antibodies. Okay, the anti-TPO antibodies test will be there. Is anti-thyroperoxidase. Okay. So these are the necessary investigations needed to diagnose hypothyroidism. Yeah. So again, when comes to this one diagnosis, here the three things like subclinical hypothyroidism, primary hypothyroidism, secondary hypothyroidism. Secondary, I am going from this side because secondary hypothyroidism very rarely we see. That happens like radiation induced hypothyroidism, such things. Because of the other disease, getting the hypothyroidism is secondary hypothyroidism. Okay, it's not like the cause itself related to hypothyroidism or something like that. So, primary hypothyroidism. Here, if the TSH, irrespective of T3, T4, irrespective of T3, T4 values, TSH is more than 10 units. Anyone? Huh? Anyone? Which international? Yes. Micro international unit per it's not DL, it's ml. Okay, micro international unit per ml. Okay, so irrespective of TSH, irrespective of T3, if the TSH is more than 10 micro international unit per ml, then it is considered as hypothyroidism, clinical hypothyroidism. Okay, if the T3, T4 values is less or decreased than normal, and if the TSH is less than 10 also, it is considered as clinical hypothyroidism only. Okay, make out the difference here. When TSH is more than 10, irrespective of T3, T4 value, it is considered as clinical hypothyroidism. Irrespective of TSH, if the TSH is less than 10 but more than normalcy, and T3, T4 is less than normalcy, then it is considered as clinical hypothyroidism only. Okay, so what is subclinical hypothyroidism? Subclinical hypothyroidism. So if TSH is more than 5.5 but less than 10, and T3, T4 is normal. T3, T4 is normal. TSH is more than 5.5. Then it is subclinical hypothyroidism. In Ayurveda, is the best time to reverse the disease because you are not substituting the hormone. You are stimulating the organ. Remember the difference here. You are not substituting the hormone. You are stimulating the organ. So, it is the right time to stimulate the thyroid organ to produce the thyroid hormone normally. Okay, so it is the right time to start the treatment. So you can reverse it in the subclinical hypothyroidism stage. Okay. So coming back to the causes where I said like iodine. Today I am saying it as a fourth cause. In 1970 it may be the first cause. Why? Because I already asked, anybody has seen the salt packets, like how much iodine it contains. Why it is a myth? Because it is not the only source. Salt is not the only source. it applicable for the Indians. I'm not saying for it is applicable for everyone. I'll tell you the reasons why. See, because we Indians do not completely dependent on the iodine. Okay, iodized salt to get the iodine. Most of the Indians are not lactose intolerant. They are not lactose intolerant. Most of the Indians consumes lactose, like milk products, milk and milk products. Milk is a rich source of iodine. Okay, and also why it is a myth for Indians? We do not know, like the general public do not know how much iodine is needed for a healthy individual. Okay, healthy adult. That is, anybody? How much iodine is needed for a healthy adult? 150 mcg. 150 mcg. Okay, per day in divided doses. So excess intake causes hypothyroidism. Anybody heard this excess intake of iodine causes hypothyroidism? Anybody? And if it is excess, how much is excess? So there is a saying in Kannada, so here also, if iodine is taken in excess, again it is toxic. How much is excess? 450 mcg per day is the excess dosage. Okay, anything in more than 450 mcg per day becomes or causes thyroiditis, that is inflammation. So the excess iodine causes inflammation, which leads to hypothyroidism, or it may lead to other thyroid diseases as well. Again, coming back to the salt, that iodized salt. Indian iodized salts generally contains 30 mcg per gram. 30 mcg iodine per gram salt. Okay, so anybody who takes less than 5 grams salt per day? Anybody here? We are fond of spices. We are fond of all the masalas. To get that right balance between the masalas and the taste, we'll be taking higher amount of salt. So we'll end up at least by taking at least 10 grams of salt per day. At least 10 grams we'll be taking it. Anybody like who is not taking more than 5 grams per day? Okay, how to calculate that? How do you know? Because it is used while cooking. These are the general questions we face from our patients as well, right? So how we can calculate it? If we are like 4 members in our house, like, so how much salt is consumed in 1 month divided by 4 divided by 30. That's it. So we will get each and every person how much they are taking or how much salt they are taking. Okay. Of course there will be variations because all the 4 members never eat the same amount of food. So approximately we can make out how much salt we are taking. Okay. So that is not the only source. We will be taking, especially we Mysoreans, fond of masala dosa. At least once a week, if we go out, we will be taking it, right? Masala dosa. So what it contains? What is the connection between iodine and masala dosa? Yes, already that is potato. Potato is a rich source of iodine. Okay, potato is a very rich source of iodine. So if we take this much of potato, the daily recommended iodine is already into our body. So in whole day you have to skip your salt. So we are in general taking excess iodine. Okay. It is the 30 mcg is recommended by US FDA. Okay. It is the recommended daily allowance by US FDA. 65% of native Americans or like Westerners or lactose intolerant, they are not taking the milk products. So obviously they need iodine from other sources. So to and also they are not fond of spices like we Indians, and like the amount of salt taken by them is less than 3 grams per day. To compensate all these things, they have made 30 mcg per gram salt. Okay, but blindly we followed it. In 1970, I don't know the exact year when Indian government made it compulsory to manufacture to process the salt with 30 mcg iodine. I don't know the exact year, but after 1970 it became mandatory. You cannot find any single salt packet without iodine. Okay, and also any food for that matter, they cannot use uniodized salt. It is the rule in India. So obviously we will be getting iodized salt from almost all the processed foods and also from the salt. So you decide what you want to recommend to your patients and how much iodine they need to take and from which source they will be taking it. Okay, so I am not saying that stop consuming iodized salt, but know the quantity of iodized salt you are taking or your patients are taking. Balance it with Saindava Lavana. Again, Saindava Lavana, if you go to Saindava Lavana, if you purchase any packet, again it is iodized. So the only thing where you can find uniodized salt is the loose Saindava salts. Okay. So not Kaluppu, that Saindava, this one, like in raw form. Okay. So that you can like 50% normal this iodized salt and another 50% this one. If you think you are taking more amount of iodine, if you think you are taking the right amount of iodine, then it's fine. Do not take less or do not take more. Okay. Yeah, so how much is too much? So how much is too less? Less than 150 it becomes. Yeah. And again, that 150 mcg rule never applies to the pregnant lady. So how much is needed? Whether less than 150 or more than 150? Sorry? Huh? How many are saying less than 150 and how many are saying more than 150? Again, the pregnant lady is carrying another thyroid gland from the 11th day itself. Okay, from the 11th day itself, she will be carrying 2 thyroid glands. One is of babies and another one is of. So it is up to 250 mcg is needed for a pregnant lady. Okay. So these things like you should remember. These things like these are the like modern aspects which you have to know. And so as I already mentioned, the Kapha Ruddhi will be there. So Kapha Pandu Lakshana we have already discussed. Like Vata Ruddhi will be there and Vata Kshaya also there in sometimes. So the both we have to consider. Okay. Why? Because the Samana Vayu, which is very much essential for yes. So if you keep any candle closed, the burning candle, if you keep it in a, like if you close it with a lid in a container, the same way if there is absence of Samana Vayu, Pitta Kshaya or Agni Kshaya or Agni Mandya. So that Samana Vayu is very much essential. We have to tackle Samana Vayu here. And the Pitta Kshaya, because of the imbalance in the Samana Vayu, it may be too much. For a candle, if you blow too much of air, it goes off. Or if there is absence of oxygen, again it goes off. So it should be balanced. That Samana Vayu should be in the proper amount. Okay. And So here Trayodasha Agni Mandya, mainly Rasa and Medodasa Agni Mandya will be there. Why Trayodasha Agni? 13 types of Agni in our body. So seven Dhatu Agnis also Agni Mandya will be there. Sorry? Yeah, Panchamahabhuta Agni and Jataragni. All the Agnis will get decreased because of the absence or excess Samanavai. Absence or excess, anything it may be. And then the concept of Kshiradadinyaya and involvement of Srotas. Why concept of Kshiradadinyaya? So, again, coming back to the Srotas, which Srotas involved in Kafaja Pandu? Rasavaha. So, once the Rasavaha Srotas Dushti happens, if Rasa is not formed well, how you can expect that the Uttara Dhatu abnormal formation happens? So, Kshiradadinyaya. So, involvement of Srotas. Almost all the Srotas will get involved. Okay. How many Srotas are there? As per Charaka? 30. Almost all the Srotas will get involved. Any Srotas, anybody can say that this Srotas is not involved. Then Annavaha, Udakavaha, Mudravaha, Purishavaha, any Srotas which is not involved here. This is the reason I said it is a Vyadhi Sankara. Okay. So, coming after knowing about like what are the causes, what are the Srotas involved, what are the causes, what are the other causative factors other than iodine. So, we'll come into the drug of choice. Okay. Is there any source where we can say that Kanchanara is recommended or is mentioned in Samhitas for the Gadaganda, Gandamala, anything? Sorry? Anywhere we find any reference about Kanchanara in our Samhitas? In P.V. Sharma's books and all, he has already mentioned it is that Kanchanara is having a prabhava over a thyroid gland. Okay. So in the recent modern new age acharyas textbooks, we can see some references related to Kanchanara. Why we call modern new age acharyas? Because they have done so much of research in the field of Dravida and all. They have mentioned about so many unknown drugs before 15th century. Like before 15th century, if we search about the chilies, we don't get reference. Anybody about reference about the chilies in the classical text before 15th century? And for that matter, the chilies in Western world it is called as paprika. Thus even the pepper is also called as paprika. Okay, but and then this capsicum is also called as pepper, bell pepper, and our pepper is also called as pepper, because our pepper maricha is from India or from the subcontinent, which is giving the same pungent taste, which is known to them by their peppers. So they started calling it as a pepper as well. They did not started calling bell pepper after seeing pepper. They started calling pepper after seeing the pepper. Okay. So the bell pepper name they have given it to the pepper. One thing. So here doctrine of signature you can see. Okay. The one thing is prabhava. Nobody accepts your argument that because of the doctrine of signature I am giving Kanchanara in case of hypothyroidism. You need some evidences in your system to back up your claims. Okay. For that you can study Priya Sharma's this one, Kanchanara drug related information. Okay. So again, here we are not using Kanchanara alone. We are using Kanchanara Gugulu. Anybody with the Kanchanara ingredients, Kanchanara Gugulu ingredients? Yes. Anybody? See, I use Kanchanara Gugulu to even for the Agnimandia. Okay, if the patient is obese, and if the patient is suffering with Agnimandia, I go for Kanchanara Gugulu. So, ingredients are more important than the indications. Because here, Triphala, Rikatu, Trijata, Vurnatvak, Kanchanaratvak, Gugulu. So, Triphala, what is Triphala? Anilomaka, Rikatu, Nivardaka, then Trijata, Ruchya, Aruchi will be there, Agnimandia will be there, loss of appetite will be there. So, Triphala, Trikatu, Trijata, and two twaks, Vurnatvak and Kanchanaratvak. Vurnatvak is known for Kapha Medovara, Ashmariyara. Right? So, Gugulu, the best anti-inflammatory drug. So, anybody that like how much amount of Gugulu will be there in this Kanchanara Gugulu? If all other ingredients are one part, Gugulu is one part. If you take 250 mg of Gugulu, 250 mg of Kanchanara Gugulu, then 125 mg of Gugulu will be there. Remaining 125 mg is covered by these 11 ingredients. There are total 12 ingredients. The Gugulu one ingredient itself 125 mg, another 11 ingredients is 125 mg. Okay, so obviously you can use it in Agnimandia, right? Is it not? It is up to you. I use it. Okay, so why and so in all the cases, in all the hypothyroidism cases, you can directly start with Kanchanara Gugulu. That is like default drug, just like our levothyroxine in other systems. Okay, I am not saying that it is like equivalent to levothyroxine or something like that, but how they use levothyroxine in hypothyroidism cases, like that you can, by default you can use in almost all the cases of hypothyroidism, this Kanchanara Gugulu. Okay, and coming to the Amsapatyadi Kashaya. So, as we already know, Amsapatyadi Kashaya, like this one, Rasavah Sroto Dushti happens because of Atichinta. If your patient is not responding to your Kanchanara Gugulu treatment, then you have to take proper history that has to be done in the prior treatment itself, like proper history, like the nature of work, the nature of the amount of stress they face in their day-to-day life. All those things you have to consider before making your prescriptions. So if you think the patient is under a lot of stress, then the drug of choice is Amsapatyadi Kashaya along with Kanchanara Gugulu. Okay, if you see the patient who is not obese and who is not showing other symptoms, like all other symptoms like too much of hair fall or the obesity, if it is absent, and if the patient is more into the stress related hypothyroidism, then better to go for Amsapatyadi Kashaya. Why Amsapatyadi Kashaya? Anybody know the ingredients of Manasamitra Gulika? Why Manasamitra Gulika is stress? Only stress. Manovaha. Whenever there is some diseases related to Manovaha are there, in almost all the cases where Manovaha is involved, we can use Manasamitra Gulika, right? In Manasamitra Gulika, Amsapada is one of the main ingredients. Have you ever imagined like Manasamitra Gulika contains Amsapada which is related to stress? So in Chalaka Vimanasthana, 8th chapter, again we get the reference of Hamsapadi. We don't have reference of Kanchanara, but we have the reference of Hamsapadi in Madhura Astapana Skanda. Okay, Chalaka Vimanasthana, 8th chapter, it is clearly explained about this drugs. Okay, so in Chalaka Vimana, 6th chapter, we get the details regarding Ati Chintana leading into the Rasavasana state. If you go back to Samhitas, again, we will be getting many information. The relation between Rasavaha Sutras and Ati Chintana and the Samsapadi, when it is mainly stress induced. So you can say when the hypothyroidism is because of suprathyroid reasons. That is stress, hypothalamus, Hamsapadi. Okay, so the chances to use Hamsapadi in hypothyroidism is how much percentage? So in very less cases we use Hamsapadi, but it is one of the best. Again, that Hamsapadi resembles thyroid gland. So Vasa, Nimbadpak, Tripali, Guduchi. So here one more advantage is there here, Guduchi. So while choosing the drugs, we have to make 4 types while choosing. One is thyrostimulants. The second one is immunomodulators. The third one is detoxifying. Fourth one, and Patya. Yes, both you can take here. Okay, so thyrostimulants. Here, this Pippali comes under stimulant. All the Katu Dravyas, all the Pitta Vardaka Dravyas. Pippali, Trikatu. Okay, Kanchana Gugulu. All these comes under thyrostimulant. One thyrostimulant should be there. Okay, if anybody from other system asks how you treat hypothyroidism, if you don't know these basic 4 things, it is difficult to convince them, and also it is difficult to explain your system to them. Okay, so you should know how to interpret the things, how to interpret your drugs to make them understand. Even for your patients will. So this Pippali, all the Trikatu, all this Kanchana Gugulu, whatever those drugs comes under thyrostimulants. Okay, so immunomodulator. So here immunomodulator is Guduchi. The best immunomodulating drug is Guduchi. And I already, while explaining while talking about the general practice in Ayurveda, I already told about one more drug. That is Balataka. Balataka is also one of the best Rasayana Dravya. So all the Rasayana drugs you can put under immunomodulating drugs. Ashwagandha. Okay. Balataka, Guduchi. Amalaki. These drugs are immunomodulating drugs. So here Guduchi is also there. Coming to the Varunali Kashaya. Why Varunali Kashaya? Right. So Varuna, I already told what is Varuna. Kapha, Medavara, Ashmariyara, and also it is very good diuretic. Okay, there will be a lot of fluid retention in hypothyroidism cases, patients. You can say literally in Kannada, the patients used to say that, sir, body ಎಲ್ಲ ನೀರು ತುಂಬಿಕೊಂಡಂಗೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. That much weight they will put on once they started suffering with hypothyroidism. Though they are taking hormone replacement therapy, though they are TSS are within normal limits, still they will be facing this weight related issue, and they will be continuously gaining weight. Okay. In such cases, Varnani Kashaya is the best. Like anybody have seen that Mamsa Shaikilya in hypothyroidism patients? Mamsa Shaikilya. All the dhatus are involved, right? What happens to the Mamsa dhatu here? Like Rakta, the deficiency will be there. You can see it in hemoglobin, right? The deficiency of hemoglobin will be there. Rasa, decreased immunity. Hypothyroidism cases or tend to get infected with more oftenly. Mamsa, so how you can say that Mamsa dhatu is involved? I said like all the dhatus are involved, right? So how the Mamsa dhatu is involved? There will be Mamsa Shaikilya. Like especially in the females you can see, if their shoulder is at this level, till here you can see the mass, that muscle mass, which is drooping. Okay. Meda, have you seen anybody's lipid profile in hypothyroidism cases? What happens in hypothyroidism cases to their lipid profile? All the values will be there. Okay. Triglycerides will be at least 250 in most of the cases. Okay. Even LDL more than 160, majority of cases. Okay. So Meda dhatu, you consider that, you consider visceral fat, you consider PCOD related to the hypothyroidism, they are like hand in hand. So Meda dhatu will be there, Meda dhatu involvement will be there, visceral fat, increased visceral fat, which is leading into the insulin resistance, which is again leading into not diabetes here, PCOD. Anybody know the relationship between PCOD and insulin resistance? And you know why metformin is given in PCOD? To reduce that insulin resistance and to make insulin sensitive, to increase the insulin sensitivity, metformin is given. Okay. So, is it possible to sensitize insulin in your body naturally or not? Treat it as Medo Sroto Dishti Chikitsa. So, just correct your Meda dhatu. Right? So, if you are treating the Meda dhatu properly, obviously you will lose the weight, like weight loss will be there. Then especially the visceral fat will be there. Once the visceral fat is reduced, the insulin sensitivity increases. That in turn reduces the PCOD. So that cyst formation stops, the ovas getting matured and getting hatched. Once those ovas getting released properly, obviously the cyst will get clear. So this is how you can approach PCOD cases. Okay. So Varnani Kashaya is best in treating Staulya Pradhana hypothyroidism or Kapha Meda Pradhana hypothyroidism. Okay. So Ashtavarga Kashaya. Why? Where it is indicated? Ashtavarga Kashaya, Vataranti. So main ingredient here, the best Vatara Dravya according to Sushruta, Eranda Rushya Vatarana. It is not just Vatara. The best Vatara is Lashuna. If you smell this Ashtavarga Kashaya, those who are not familiar with the Lashuna, they will start complaining. The main ingredient is Lashuna. So according to Charaka, Rasna, someone told Eranda, which is Rushya, Vatara. Rushya is needed or not? Why? Because Eranda is needed because Rushya is needed because all other Sapta dhatus are depleted. To bring it back into the normalcy, it is needed. So Shunti, again that is Shunti is Vishwabheshaja, where we cannot use the shunti? Is there any contraindicated disease where we cannot use shunti? To make Agni Dipana, for Vatanulomana, for Vishnu, this to make Pitta, Vriddhi. Okay. And again, Devadaru, Nirgundi, Sahasara, Bala, all these are Vatara Dravyas. So, Samanavayu, we have to treat Samanavayu, right? So, Vata Pradhana hypothyroidism, where the patient is like physically active and who is like too much active, still he is having hypothyroidism. In most of the patients who are inactive, like in the IT patients, you don't need this Ashtavarga Kashaya in most cases. You need this Ashtavarga Kashaya where patient is physically active, is like he remains physically active, he or she remains physically active throughout the day, still he or she is suffering with hypothyroidism, then you need to go for Ashtavarga Kashaya, Vata Pradhana. Okay, next. So, Patya, the first Patya is taking the right quantity of iodine. The Apatya is again not taking improper quantity of iodine. Okay. So Vihara, like all the Kapha Vriddhi, Vihara, Kapha Vriddhi, Vata Vriddhi, Vata Kshaya and Pitta Kshaya, Viharas we have to avoid. And also Ahara, we have to make sure that we are taking balanced, like Dosha Satmya, like those Ahara we need to take. And also, like if the patient is already suffering with hypothyroidism, we should avoid this dietogenic diet. Okay, dietogenic. This cauliflower and cabbage, like all the course main course, more riti course barata, that's too dietogenic. Okay, so these things we need to avoid. Okay, and also in non-vegetarians, we should ask them to avoid this broiler chicken completely because it is injected with almost all, like all the growth hormones and all this female hormones, these antibiotics, all are injected in broiler chickens. So our body, when it receives synthetic hormone externally, obviously it goes into confusion state. So it starts producing improper amount of thyroid hormones. Okay. So these are like some old cases where which have not changed the pictures. Like there are many reports. Like in the beginning, see here you can see subclinical hypothyroidism. They have taken some lenience to call it as subclinical hypothyroidism, even though it is about 10. Okay, but why the T4 is normal? Okay, and HbA it is just 11.76 and HbA is 11.8. And weight, you just observe weight I have written in the pen, 74.5. Okay, and it become normal 4.23. Weight is also normal 70.2. And you should observe that T4 levels as well. Okay. Here 68 weight, from 74 to 68, and 11 to 3.97. So again the same case, 47. No, sorry, this is the beginning. In the beginning it was 47, 2018, but this same case again after becoming normal also it became 40, thinking that like some misguided diet made her to reach that level. Okay, like some autoimmune disease causing diets she followed. This case is like in the beginning it was having 47. And within 3 months it becomes 14. Then it becomes 1.94. Yeah. Next. See, Anybody saw any case which was having 150 TSH, more than 150 TSH? So how many of you like are there enough to take the case which is having more than 150 TSH at the beginning? See, it is not clear that how much it is. They have just mentioned more than 150. They stopped calculating once it reached 150. It may be 300, you never know. Or it may be just 151. You never know. So again, they becoming 7.48. 150 to 7.48. And again, the report is from Thyrocare. So this is another case. This is the recent one. I have just 16 years of age. Next slide. 17 to 5 within 1 month. I have given the medicines for 1 month, but patient visited me after like 10 days after completing the medicines. I asked her to visit me soon after, like after 30 days. She visited me after 45 days. 5. 17 to 5 within just 1 month. Okay, 16-year girl. She had all the like this anatomical deformity which is visible to naked eyes, like swollen gland, and she underwent for other investigations like FNAC as well as USG where it is revealed as Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Okay, so nobody answered why anti-TPO antibodies. To diagnose Hashimoto's thyroiditis, you need anti-TPO antibodies. To diagnose any autoimmune thyroiditis, you need anti-TPO antibodies. Okay, so anything more than 90 in the anti-TPO antibody titration is considered as positive. Okay, so when you can send the patients for anti-TPO antibodies, treatment if the patient is not responding, then again go for this anti-TPO antibodies test and rule out whether it is Hashimoto's thyroiditis and all. In Hashimoto's thyroiditis, in such cases, your treatment should be aggressive and the role of immunomodulators will be very high compared to the thyrostimulants, because thyroid will be performing normally, but the number of cells will be getting decreased day by day because of the anti-thyroid antibody presence of like the anti-thyroid of this anti-TPO antibodies will be there, and that keep destroying the cells, thyroid cells. So number of cells, if it is decreasing, means obviously the quantity of hormones released is also getting decreased. Right. So immunomodulating and protecting the thyroid gland will be the first and foremost thing there. So there you can use Balataka. So conclusion, like hypothyroidism can be considered as condition which result due to Kapha-Vata dosha vriddhi and Pitta-Kshaya, which result due to Agnimandia, Dhatu-Agnimandia, especially Meso-Dhatu-Agnimandia. Dravya used for normalizing Kapha-Vata, Vriddhi-Janya, Dhatu-Agnimandia to be helpful in this condition. These are like my interpretations and my experience, that's it. And it can be considered as Kapha Pradhana Tridosha Vyadhi with Medas Dushti predominantly. Tridosha Vyadhi, why? Because Pitta-Kshaya will be there. Okay, the effective treatment is dosha pratyanika chikitsa than vyadhi pratyanika chikitsa, because you don't get any particular chikitsa sutra for this disease in our classical text. So you cannot go into vyadhi pratyanika chikitsa. So you need to do dosha pratyanika chikitsa. Okay, this is the thing. So the general doubts what we get in our clinical practice, when to stop this one. If patient is already on levothyroxine, is it possible to stop? If yes, when? Most of our Ayurveda doctors who have attempted to treat these cases have abruptly stopped thyroxine when the patients approach them. So here we should know when to stop, how to stop, and if reducing the dosage, how much we can reduce. Okay. So I forget to mention about these detoxifying drugs. Okay, coming back to detoxifying drugs, like all the acute legal drugs you can use here as a detoxifying drugs, because the best the organ which detoxifies our body? Liver. Okay, so you have to use like hepatoprotective and hepatostimulant drugs. There are cases where because of underactive liver or because of improper functions in the liver, you don't have any other function, this one, test to do the liver function, to know the liver functions, except liver function test. But you cannot say that your liver is absolutely normal or like it is functioning normally, just considering that. There are so much of functions which is done by liver, which is even today, many researchers are going on that particular organ. Okay, so all the recruit pleha drugs or hepatoprotective, hepatostimulant drugs you can use in the while where use things the Garavesha is the main nidana, because obviously Garavesha will be the so much of pesticides, so much of chemical fertilizers we are using, which is acting as a Garavesha, and so much of hormone injected foods we are taking, which is again acting as a Garavesha. So to detoxifying, that we have to go for those drugs, and iodine, as we already know, that is one thing. So yeah, about reducing and calculating the. So anybody knows about the dosage of that thyroxine? How they decide how much? So see, this is the general rule they usually follow. Okay, 1.2 mcg per kg body weight. Okay, when the TSH level is more than 10. Okay, this is the maximum dosage usually in general they use. Okay, when the TSH is more than 10, they go for this particular thing. Like if you consider some 120 kg person, 120 kg person having TSH of 10, then 120 into 1.2, around 144, right? So 144 means the nearest dosage available in the market is 150. Okay, so 150 mcg, then in the beginning itself they will go for 150 when the patient is having 120. Okay, like, and also you have to consider the BMI. If the BMI is more than 26, 25, 28, something like that, you have to go for the maximum dosage. Okay, so 150 mcg in the beginning itself they go for that 150 mcg. Anyway, you are not going to start these medicines. Okay, those who are coming to you will be already on these medications with this kind of dosage. Okay, so how you can taper this? So you need to monitor the thyroid profile once in every 3 months. Okay, so but in general, most of the cases, like most of the chronic hypothyroidism cases, they go for the checkups once in 6 months, because obviously they know this is the only drug I have to take throughout my lifetime. Why to check like every now and then? So they just go for the test once in 6 months. Okay, and many patients, they themselves alter the dosage. Seriously, they themselves alter the dosage. Okay, they'll go for the checkup after 6 months. If their TSH is, if they are taking 25 mcg, if their TSH is again if it is like 10, okay, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾನು 50 mcg ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ, ಒಂದು 3 ತಿಂಗಳು ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. 3 months abruptly they take this like one pack that comes in 120 number. 120 tablets will be there. They finish it up, then again they will go back to the previous dosage. Because of that residual T4, see the T3, T4 whatever produced today is utilized after 3 months in the cellular level. Okay, so for the future 3 months our body already today itself it is producing the T3, T4. That is the reason most of the cases, even if the TSH is 12, T3, T4 will be normal, because this TSH is of today's, It's not of like 3 months ago. Okay, it is today's, but this T3 T4 is of 3 months. So that is the reason they go for the FT3 FT4, free T3 free T4. Okay, you should know the difference between FT3 and FT4. Okay, while sending them for the this one investigations, make sure which investigation you need at what time. Okay, so these are the basics investigations and basic way to decide the dosage as well. And so if TSH becomes, if the patient is having 50 mcg every day and the TSH is like 3 and you have started some Ayurveda medicines, don't think that you can taper the dosage. You cannot make this 50 into 25 considering this is within the normal range. Okay, you can only taper this when it becomes less than 2.5. If the reference range is 5.5, if the reference range is 5.5, upper reference range is 5.5. Some labs give 4.9 as the upper reference range. Some gives as a 5.5. Some 5 years ago, if you take the reports, or some 10 years ago old reports, if you take 6 is the upper reference range. Okay, so depending upon that midpoint, less than the midpoint, when it reaches the less than the midpoint level, then only you can able to taper this dosage, and never ever make it half the dosage. Okay, you have to taper 52 when if it is 25. Okay, irrespective of amount of Ayurveda medicines you are using. Okay, so this rule, always follow this rule. So if you are starting Ayurveda medicines and if their TSH is 2.5, then you can reduce the thyroxine dosage by 12.5. Okay, if the patient comes in the beginning itself, you can directly go for Ayurveda treatment. If patient comes to you with the history of hypothyroidism since more than a year, then you cannot taper it. And if the case is more than 5 years old, the prognosis is what it becomes. It can only be managed, cannot be reversed. Okay, so like as the disease gets chronic, as already told in Ayurveda, those becomes difficult to treat, or it can only be managed, it cannot be reversed.